It is midweek extra. We just spent the last 10-15 minutes laughing and joking, not just because we enjoy each other's company, but because it was much better. From Liverpool last night, it might have been a 0-0 draw, but I think we saw a lot more of what we want from a Liverpool side, but we'll see if my panel agree. And that panel is Kieran, Molyneux. It is Kev Reilly, and it is Josh Sexton, and we are in association with NordVPN. Thanks a lot to Nord for partnering with us for the rest of the season. Really appreciate their support. I'll have more about them soon, but I just want to get straight into it, Kev. Much more like it, I thought. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was looking forward to the well done Arsenal memes after the game. There wasn't much of that, and that's understandable because when you apply context to this, it is a good point. You know, I'm so glad that we've carried on the unbeaten run. And it's really rare going into a game that I think will get beat. Honestly, I'm a half glass full kind of guy, and I think Liverpool can honestly beat anyone usually. But coming into this, we did the pre-match warm-up and. It wasn't looking good. It wasn't looking good. So to see a performance like that, I'm really happy with. For me, the mentality was there. You know, the fight was there, the spirit was there, the determination was there. And I don't know if you guys caught the manager on the sidelines. I mean, he looked very animated and really up for it. He wasn't his usual reserved self. I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, a great point against a tough Arsenal side and being able to. And although in the first half we weren't as attacking as maybe what we'd like, we were great in the second half, we did limit them to just 9 shots across the game. And the next team to do better than that is City in 2022, so at the Emirates. So I mean, yeah, you have to applaud the performance to come up against the champions in the form that we're in, where we're maybe not ticking over quite as much as we'd like to. So yeah, I'm really happy with the point and just hoping it's something we can build on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the post-match show, which the lads did down in London. It's available on the app if you're not listening to it. It was Dan Austin and Craig who'd been the game, along with Fuad and Dan, who was hosting, and Dan Morgan. And Dan Austin made the point that, you know, it was probably as good as you could expect with what we had there. Now, you know, the team's obviously, you know, pretty good. I think Gary Neville makes a lot of points, some of them reasonable. But one of the things he said was, well, it is, before the game, we were talking about the injuries, he was like, well, it is 9 of the team you would expect. It's just the forwards who were not there. And I think that is fair. I think we can get carried away, you know, with the injuries and stuff like that. But the basis of the team there. But when you haven't got any real sort of forward options of note, or when you're struggling for forward options, to go there and win the game was always going to be tough. But, you know, they came the closest, they hit the bar, and just what I was really pleased with was just that command, especially in that second half, just that the fact that they dug in and just the fact that they looked ready for the game and ready for the fight. And sometimes I've watched us this season where, I mean, Manchester United at home is a big one for me, where they just looked more up for it than us, but also just more ready for it, like more prepared, like they came in with a plan, and the game just acted like a whole big surprise to us. I think that was great tactics from the manager, really well thought out. Everyone had bought into it. They changed it in the second half to get on the ball more and to try and pose a little bit more of a threat. And it was just like a proper away performance against the big team.
I think that's a really good point, because it was almost mentality in the way that you don't necessarily expect mentality to come, in terms of just readiness for the challenge that the game was going to present. Like I was so wound up after the Leeds game, in that it just felt like, you know, every sub made Liverpool smaller, every sub made Leeds bigger, and it felt like we were surprised at what we came up against, in terms of Leeds being 11 men behind the ball for most of it, being big lads and being physical and all those things. And then coming into this Arsenal game, I was actually weirdly optimistic, sort of, you know, not similar to Kev really, in the sense that I knew Liverpool would rise to the occasion a bit. Like, we've seen them do that already this season. I think that is still within them. I guess the thing that sort of, you know, dampens that expectation really is the team. Like you say, the forwards, Cody Gakpo being through the middle again is something that, I mean, it seemed like it was Wirtz through the middle for the most part, didn't it? And Gakpo sort of drifting out to the left, and that was the way around that you want to see it, because I think the Gakpo striker thing is clearly not a way home for Liverpool, but it's, as you say, it's because of the lack of forward options at the moment. So it was a really reassuring performance. Like the mentality was there, and for me it starts with players like Alexis McAllister, weirdly, where I feel like there's been loads of times where McAllister has looked a little bit surprised at what he's come up against this season and struggled to get into games because of that. And I was really worried when Saka sort of did him on the byline earlier, because I was like, it's going to be more of the same from McAllister, where, like, how are you not expecting Saka to do a nice little dribble and you know, run past you? That's basically his entire game, and obviously he's got loads of end product to his game as well. So, like, don't let him get into those areas. But he recovered from that really well. And second half, I thought he was one of you know, so many of the lads who played in midfield and all over the park. Really, the defence was brilliant once again. That it felt like just did rise to that occasion and were really ready for the challenge. And that's why I wonder whether, you know, Kev mentioned Slot being more animated. I wonder whether he sort of, you know, almost put a bit of a rocket up this Liverpool team, in the sense of Arsenal are basically Liverpool's complete, you know, counter this season. I know Liverpool have become a team who plays it a little bit more safe in the past few weeks, but, you know, at the start of the season, at least, it felt like a Liverpool side that wanted to, you know, play good attacking football, wanted to take risks, and you see it again last night. Like, every time Arsenal lost the ball, they just fall back into a shape. They're such a winning football team, of course, but such a strange football team to watch, in the sense that that's their way home to success for us as Liverpool fans. So I was really reassured by what I saw. I hope they can carry that mentality into games that kind of mean less to them in that sense of, like, what they're coming up against. And, you know, that maybe starts on Monday, albeit I think it'll be a completely insane team.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go on to talk about Monday sort of later in the show, but from last night, I don't know, what did you make of it, Keo? Did you agree with all of us that it was much more like what you want to see from a Liverpool team?
Much more what I want to see. And I was a little bit annoyed at the fact that Arsenal team is so far in front of us. That was what I took away from that game last night, because they didn't seem a team that was 14 points clear of Liverpool at all. But the positives for me was not just the performance, it's the fact that Liverpool can turn up as standalone games. He referenced this in his press conference before the Arsenal game. We're still in the FA Cup, we're still in the Champions League. So to be able to turn up at a big game and put the recent form behind you and perform away from home was massive. I thought we looked, I think we looked the best we've seen, at least for 3 or 4 months. So, positives to take. Arsenal, as you say, are really, really, really well drilled. I think they're a little bit boring, if you know what I mean. Like, but very boring.
A little bit.
Yeah, boring to watch, but so effective, as you say, they fall back into place. But yeah, it's a positive result for Liverpool, and it's something to build on. It's now 10 games unbeaten. If you would have said that coming out of the ground after PSV beat us 4-1, that Liverpool are going to go 10 games unbeaten, you'd say, piss off, Keo, you would have. So it is a positive, although it hasn't been fantastic to watch over the past 10 games. We're in a situation now where we're in the new year, on a 10-game unbeaten run. We've got 2 cup competitions in front of us. We've got to take the positives and move forward.
In terms of the preparation, it was interesting he went down the night before, and I was a little bit surprised. I thought, so, you know, it seems a bit overkill, do you know what I mean? But I think it was a demonstration that they were treating it almost like a European away game, really. And I think Klopp called it a sort of a one-off tie, but the fact that they went down the night before... the other fella. It rhymes. The fact that he went down the night before, and you'd imagine all day they were, you know, they would have been resting and preparing and stuff, but also they would have been talking about the challenge and talking about not just the threats that Arsenal pose, but also how you can get out at them. I thought they were really brave on the ball, even in the first half when we didn't see as much of it, in terms of how well we were beating that press, and the Bradley opportunity that hits the bar comes from us moving the ball from back to front really quickly, and that looked like it'd been something that they'd spoke about, that Arsenal will press up, but if you can keep your heads and keep the ball, you know, there'll be opportunities for us. And that one that Bradley hit the bar, I think it completely spooked them. I think because they started really well, and they'd started quite attacking, and they were looking dangerous, and, you know, you could Gary Neville getting very excited on the conference. Yeah, I know, about what Arsenal were going to do to Liverpool. And then after that, they went completely in the shells. There's that mad stat that they didn't have a shot from 44 minutes. And I think they were just almost kind of scared to press Liverpool. And Liverpool were like, well, fine, we'll just sort of pass it around, you know, and be patient. But that comes from bravery on the ball. Fearing other teams, and they're far too easily scared, by the way. They're like my lad watching Batman, do you know what I mean? Like hiding behind the sofa. But honestly,
I liked it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just laughing at him, honestly. But Yeah, they're far too easily spooked. But but teams are, and that's the point, and we haven't been giving people enough to worry about, and when we did that did worry them, and then when it went to Chelsea, then we can play our game.
Yeah, I think you're dead on about like the preparation for this, and I did notice in the pre-match press conference he calls it a one-off tie, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, almost as if he's had an eye on it for a really, really long time. And I like the idea of going down the night before and almost treating it as a European tie. I think you'd mentioned it, Josh, in a show recently about confidence is not something that's given to you. It's not something that's earned. It's something that's built throughout time. And to gain confidence, you do have to change mentality. And to change mentality, you have to drum into these players that that we can do this. You remember Jurgen Klopp, before the Barcelona game, he says that no team can win this game, but if there's one team that can, it's you. That sort of manager who can instill confidence in his players, it's a really important role. So I'm bringing him down, changing the narrative of that that this is a massive game. Not using any subs as if to say, you're the lads I've picked, I really trust you to do this job. It all sort of screams grown-up performance, professional performance, Liverpool performance, which I'm really into. And yeah, the way that they shilted after the Bradley shot was really surprising, because for me, I felt like almost Arsenal had turned this sort of confidence corner where they're very likely going to be champions. They're keeping Man City at bay. They're doing really well at that. And against Aston Villa in particular, I thought, no, they do look like a team who are like, no, we've got this. And then, what they do with the Bournemouth coming back from one goal down and winning that the way they did. So I thought coming into this, we'd really be up against it in terms of their confidence, and we wouldn't be able to sort of have that mentality battle where we can shift it round. But we absolutely did, because we backed ourselves. We saw Dom Szoboszlai before the game saying, that they're playing the champions here. And I've been annoyed recently because we're on this 10-game unbeaten run, and I've not been in the ground singing champions and serenading a team of champions because, we've not been able to, because maybe they didn't deserve it in certain performances. I was glad to hear it last night because, it was just an all-round decent performance where, there was no backs against the walls. There was no, silly mistakes. I thought Kanate and Van Dijk did really, really well. And shout out to Kerkez, because he basically just shut down their entire side, their entire right-hand side when Saka and Timber are combining so well. That looked like
recently.
It looked like their sort of main way out. And I know that Kerkez gets done once, but I mean, did you see what Saka did? It was an incredible bit of skill. He draws him in and then he just pops it over and he's away. And after that, they have to switch flanks because they're like, we're getting no change out of Kerkez here. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Coming from a guy who was calling for Robertson for this sort of stability and stable performance, I thought he kept his head really, really well. And as you say, we played through really, really well. Once we did beat the press, it looked really, really sort of scary for them. If we'd had a proper attacker on the pitch, I know we had Gakpo, but if we had either Isak, Salah, or Ekitike, and I'm talking about one of those three, we could have won the game. And I'm talking about in the first half as well. You watch the game the first time round and you're like, oh, the first 30 minutes. But we were getting through the press every now and again. And Gravenberch, I thought, was key to that. He was sort of back to last season's best. And
McAllister was good last night.
McAllister was great. I thought they performed really well together, but Gravenberch had the sort of tenacity and bravery to hold on to the ball a little bit more, trust his first touch and work his way out of tight spaces. I don't think he had any dribbles, but is working his way out of tight spaces just to find a little space to find, another midfielder. I mean, the three of the midfielders were fantastic last night. It was so much more positive to see. But yeah, I'm hoping that on a confidence level, this is something that we can look back on and go, yeah, no, I'm never ever going to say we're back, because this season isn't going to be, a pinnacle. We're not going to win the title this season. But in terms of building confidence, you couldn't do better than going there, getting a draw and coming out with a great performance, not conceding any goals, great at set pieces, great defensively, and a threat and attack every now and again.
I think just like showing defiance as well. Like you mentioned the crowd and the singing champions. I think it was Pat Davidson from Sky, wasn't he, who asked Szoboszlai the question of, are you playing against the champions? He's like, no, we are the champions. I think that was almost like the like chalkboard material for the dressing room, really, wasn't it? And it looked like it was a Liverpool team that embraced that. And even there's a couple of players that Kev's mentioned there who I think sort of burned heads out a little bit at the start of the season. Kirkes being one of the new signings who did, McAllister being one of the ones who, we expect more from, clearly wasn't over that injury and, having a bit of a checkered pre-season and, he not necessarily recovered from that. It felt like they were the players who almost stood up tallest the most, really, because there was that defiance in the team, and that's the thing that will just reassure going forward, really. And I think that we need to embrace as fans as well, like being in that away end and being able to sing champions and almost doing it as like a fuck you to Arsenal, because they may well win the league. I think they probably will, because I don't think City look like they're at that level of consistency to be able to keep it going. But I think Keo kind of referenced it before. This is not an Arsenal team that plays with complete confidence and swagger. Kev's mentioned a couple of examples like the Aston Villa game, where they maybe did show confidence and swagger, but it's so fragile. They really are a team that I think is built in the image of their manager, and that confidence and kind of swagger can quite quickly spill over, as we saw last night, into them just being pricks, or it can quite quickly spill over into actually, no shit, our backs are a bit against the wall here, we have to fall back into shape and kind of shit themselves a bit. So I wasn't wholly surprised by what I saw from them. But that's the thing that kind of you want to hope reassures you for next season, because you can kind of write this one off if you're Liverpool, can't you? Want to finish in the top 4, want to have a cup run, absolutely. I think Ben Jono tweeted last night, didn't he? He wants to knock them out the European Cup. That would be nice. Be tough over 2 legs, I think, but we're up to any challenge in the European
Cup. Well, 1-0.
Yeah,
over the 2 legs in the league.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. So maybe we can raffle their heads off before they raffle ours.
Do you know what? They would absolutely hate that as well. In terms of
getting their heads more than they were getting ours.
Yeah, their confidence is built on. It's something that we've not been able to sort of take advantage of this season. Is playing the smaller teams. They've got the confidence and they've got the home record and they're happy. But if they came up against a proper team on their day, like a Liverpool on their day or a Barcelona on their day, I think they would possibly shit the bed. So they might not be as strong as we think in Europe as well.
Even though they're the best team that PSG have ever faced in the history of the football club, because that's what the president of Paris told the Swiss.
Of course,
such a balance. What was I going to say? Confidence. We talked a lot about confidence, Keo, and I think it could have gone with a bad result in this. There's been a lot of talk about previous seasons and what this season reminds people of, and I think the closest one that I think is apt and I think it was fair, felt a little bit 14-15 under Rodgers, because although they don't go on to win the league the year before, they get very close, and it's all really positive, and then someone puts a pin in the balloon. But in the middle of that season, we do go on a run where the manager changes it. He actually goes to 3 at the back, Brendan Rodgers, and we go on a similar run to what Liverpool have just been on, and it's an unbeaten run, and it doesn't look amazing, it doesn't look pretty, and it doesn't look long term, but they're at least getting the results and they've changed something. And then they go to Old Trafford to lose 3-0, and it just destroys everything. And from then on, we get the Aston Villa semi-final and the Stoke debacle, and everything goes wrong from.
Was enjoying the show then,
No, but I'm coming to a good point. And everything goes wrong from that 3-0 at Old Trafford. It's almost like the Emperor's Clothes situation where everyone just realises that it's built on sand. I'm mixing metaphors all over the place here. Ted's behind the sofa. Can't watch. And I had a little thing in the back of my mind, going to the Emirates, this could be that Old Trafford. This could be if we go there and get beat 3-0, it could be what the fuck was all that for? But they don't. They go to the good team. It's the hardest game of the season. They go there and they look the better team, and I think that's massive.
It is an unbeaten run, and it could have not just ended at the Emirates, it could have ended badly. And I was with you. I very, very rarely go into Liverpool games thinking that we're going to lose games. I am a glass half full kind of guy. I try and be optimistic, no matter who we're playing. But looking at the league table, they were 14 points clear of us. We've got the cup they want. We're going to them. It was just set up for, if we were the other way around, we'd be so up for that game and Liverpool would throw absolutely everything at it. And there's a possibility that Liverpool blow a team like that away. And it could have happened last night, because we talked about Arsenal being boring and we talked about them not being, that great, but they've been the best team in England so far. And we've been well below where we need to be. So we could have easily gone down the Emirates last night and got beat 2 or 3-0. And if that happens, it would have put the manager back under pressure, the players back under pressure. The unbeaten run, you can say, we drew that game, it wasn't a decent run. Whereas now, we've come out of it with confidence. I feel we've all been laughing and smiling and joking around this table this morning. I know it's a 0-0 draw, but I feel confident now, especially about them one-off European Cup ties, and especially about, you know, we got Barnsley in the FA Cup on Monday night. We can go and win an FA Cup, go and win a European Cup, and we've got to think like that. I mean, it's hard to build confidence when it's been a tough watch. It's hard to build confidence when you say it's 10-game unbeaten run, but we can't beat Leeds. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to build confidence.
Like it's much about performance than results, by the way.
Exactly.
That's what's great about last night, is the performance, and Leeds and Fulham. What's so rubbish is that the performance wasn't really there.
I mean, what it is, people are waiting for a moment where Liverpool go, we're back.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen like that for me. And last night was another step towards where we need to be. And that's the positive. So you can, I'm sure there's Arsenal fans who look at this and go, we don't care. We got a great point last night. We're going to go and win the league, fine. And I'm looking at my own team for the minute, and I want to sort our own house out. Yeah. So that's a perfect start. We're in a new year. We're on a unbeaten run. Keep moving.
You mentioned McAllister before. I thought the home midfield was great, and it was well balanced, the work rate, but also just on the ball, just the way they were finding space was what they've not been doing. And you know, there's going on to there'll be other teams who will play against who will play in a different way, and you know, this result in a way doesn't make us more likely to beat Burnley at home, because that's a completely separate challenge, and I get that. But just the way they were going past players, just the way they were using the body to find space and create space, just made me think, yeah, I'm enjoying that, because you can transfer that to other situations and other games where we haven't been able to do that so far, and it's all been a bit pedestrian and a bit sort of get the ball and pass to someone else, where just the way those three midfielders in particular, but not just them, Verts, just the way they were moving the ball into space and pulling Arsenal around and giving them really good Arsenal midfielders a lot to think about. Didn't just make me happy last night, and made me happy for moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those three midfielders coming up against Rice, Zubimendi, and Odegaard's no mean feat. You know, arguably one of the best midfields in the league. The points prove that. So for me, it was responsibility. You know, it feels like in those past games they have been shirking a bit of responsibility, giving it to Wirtz or sending it out wide. You do something. It felt a little bit more like the onus was more on the midfielders to sort of graft and sort of fight and take this team forward. You know, I used to have a coach who used to always say, if you just look after your own job, you know, we'll be fine. And it was very much like that sort of back to basics performance. It felt like everybody was so focused on their own job, but also, you know, the narrative throughout the team and the communication throughout the team is we lack fight, and that was there as well. So it was this combination of responsibility, fight, and ownership, where, you know, everyone gets together and it's a great performance. Yeah, it was much better to see McAllister do well, because I've been really worried, particularly about his fitness. But then he's come out and said his fitness is completely fine, and it's made me wonder if maybe it's just more about them not enjoying the football. I mean, it's difficult to enjoy your football when, you know, you're possibly going to win a game, and then you get, you know, this goes against you, that goes against you. You can see the set piece, the media are on your backs. I think they sort of forgot all that and just went into a lot more positively. And I mean, Szoboszlai is a great example of a great midfield performance, because it's 96% pass completion against Arsenal.
That's incredible.
That's just like off the charts. Some people will be into stats, some won't. But that's a genuinely like jaw-dropping stat. I think he gets man of the match last night from Sky as well. And what another thing that I liked about it was, you ask fans or you ask pundits who their man of the match was, and there was a lot of different sort of opinions, and that's often indicative of a really good performance as well. Yeah. So yeah, if the midfield can carry that forward and carry on with that performance, we'll be much better off. And that's a midfield without Jones, who's arguably been on his best run as a Liverpool player in a really long time. So, you know, he's still to come into the mix as well.
Yeah, I do want to praise Szoboszlai, because I mean that pass completion stat's incredible, Josh, but his work rate off the ball is phenomenal. I thought his leadership last night in particular impressed me. You know, I was watching on telly. Normally I'm watching him sort of in the ground, and what I noticed on the TV was that he's as soon as a move broke down or whatever, he's getting everyone back into position, and that's something I really noticed. And there was one where I think a move ends with one of his shots, and instead of being like, oh, you know, getting in his own head about that, he was straight away telling, I think, Frimpong where to go. I think Frimpong broke down the left-hand side, and he's like, get back in. And I thought, he's so in the moment there, or so in the moment of what we need from him. It's really, really impressive. And I've been a little bit kind of, when people talked about Szoboszlai maybe as a potential captain, I've been a little bit unsure, because I think he's hungry captain because he's Hungary's best player, and I think that's fine. Do you know what I mean? That's one way to give it. If you're the best player by a mile, I have him. But I think so. I've been a bit like, but does he show that sort of? And I think he's a really good player, and I think he's a really good example for the team in terms of how he applies himself. But can he show that sort of leadership on the pitch in the big moments? Last night I saw loads of putting responsibility on him to make something happen, recognising there's no forwards, and thinking, this might be on me to win the game just like I did at Anfield. But also, as soon as an attack broke down, or as soon as something didn't work out, it was him who was getting everyone back into position, and that was great.
Yeah, it's about embodying that same thing that you're trying to hold your teammates to account for, isn't it? So that, the reason that someone like Frimpong will listen to Szoboszlai about filling back in is because Szoboszlai did it time and time again. Last night he has the really frustrating moment where he gets pulled back, and by the way, there's a foul on Eze about 5 minutes later where he gets pulled back and goes down, and they give the free kick for it, and a yellow card, which is what it should have been. But because he stays on his feet, the referee doesn't give it, and rather than mope, he kind of has a little moment where he goes like, "Hell, ref," but then he runs back in and he eventually gets fouled. I think he takes a bit of a shot to the face, and the Yanksy comes up sort of holding his jaw. But that is what embodying it's about. Like, we've all played 5-a-side and 11-a-side and stuff like that, haven't we, where someone on the pitch on your team is being a biff because they're the one who tells you to always track back, and they're never the one tracking back. And you won't listen to somebody like that, but you listen to someone like Szoboszlai who does embody that, who's doing the things that you ask of him. And there's so much that's asked of him in this Liverpool team as well. He's asked to be the one who supports Conor Bradley, sort of, filling in between the gap between the centre half and the right back. He's the one who, last night at times, it felt like certainly the way we started the game, he was almost doing that split striker thing with Wirtz that we saw at City away last season, where it's kind of two of them up there and then more conventional wingers. So to be a creative fulcrum, to work as hard as he always does, to pass the ball well and cleanly time and time again, even though Arsenal's press, it's obviously a bit more sort of, it's a bit more quick from the front line, isn't it? But still, those midfielders we've all mentioned for Arsenal are no joke, and they want to get stuck in as well. And this is an Arsenal team that constantly wants to get stuck in the centre half, so happy stepping out and putting pressure on you too. And Szoboszlai just rose to that challenge and rose to it again and again last night. And similar to you, like I don't know where I really thought he was in the captaincy stakes, but we've seen Van Dijk even struggle with embodying that same sort of responsibility this season, where he's come out in interviews and spoke really well about it, but then he's even made some mistakes that he doesn't usually make on the pitch, because I think he's lost that kind of trust in himself. And that comes back to the quote that Kev referenced that I think I've made on the ratings after Leeds, is that you don't try to be confident, you try to trust yourself, and the confidence is like a byproduct of that. And Szoboszlai is clearly someone who's got absolute ultimate trust, not only from his teammates but within himself, and that's what you see on the pitch last night.
Yeah, it was notable to me that Arne Slot, straight after the game, was over to him and was talking to him, and I think he's very much seen as a leader on the pitch now. Okay, we're going to have a very short break, and then in part two I just want to talk about a couple of incidents that happened in the game and that I want to discuss, and then in part three we're going to look ahead to the FA Cup game against Barnsley on Monday. Okay, back in the room. I'm still with the boys, Kev, Keo and Josh, and thanks a lot to you guys for enjoying this, hopefully enjoying this show, whether it's as audio or video on YouTube, and also to NordVPN for being the sponsor for Midweek Extra for the rest of the season. Huge thanks to them. You can get yourself a great deal if you go to nordvpn.com/TAW. Put my teeth back in, nordvpn.com/TAW. And it's a fantastic service that I indeed use, and lots of you are using as well. Loads of benefits to it. It's added internet security. It's peace of mind when you're logging in to public Wi-Fi, when you're an international man like Josh Sexton. You could be in LA one week, New York the next. You're on Wi-Fi's in cafes. You never really know kind of who might be hacking into you to get all his amazing data that he uses there to analyse several different sports. But with something like NordVPN, that can give you ultra confidence. But also, it's a great way to enjoy streaming services, TV, maybe even sport that's not on in your country but is on in others, because you can change your virtual location with just the click of a button. So if you're going on holiday next week but you can't bear to miss the traitors, and that is only available at the moment in the UK, you can be in Barbados. I'm shooting big for you. You're in Barbados. You change your virtual location to the UK, and you can con the BBC and let them know that you're there. I'm sure you pay the license fee. It's all above board. but you can enjoy the traitors sort of from there as well. And there's also certain games, sporting games that are not available in this country that are in others that you can enjoy when you are in the UK. So loads of benefits to it. I really enjoy it and I really appreciate their support, as we all do with the Anfield Wrap. So nordvpn.com/TAW. We'll start with the Martinelli stuff. It's a disgrace. He's apologised. I thought our manager was very fair to him after the game. I thought you can see the players are pissed off straight after it. McAllister and Konate in particular, and Barnsley as well. I thought there might be a little bit after the game. I think the fact that he knows the likes of Ali from international duty probably sort of helped him a little bit, but I think it's shit, and I think some of the stuff that you see footballers getting pulled for and in trouble for, I think that's worse. He's clearly serious hurt, and the last thing you want to do with someone who's seriously hurt is being ragging them about, and he might have got away with it last night. I don't think he'll get away with it next time he comes to Anfield.
You know when players are time wasting, and you know when someone's knee goes in the middle of an action or trying to kick a ball, it's disgraceful. And I've calmed down a little bit now, to be honest. Last night, I wanted Liverpool players to take red cards. I wanted Liverpool players to go over and knock them out. That's what I was screaming at the telly last night. And then I was hoping for a bit of a ruckus after the game.
Yeah,
And then I was hoping for the manager to come out and say, have a go at him. But it's calmed down now a little bit. And our manager's poured cold water on it and says, I'm sure if he realised what he was suffering from and how serious the injury was, that he wouldn't have done it. But that aside, like, what's he fucking doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, even if the player wasn't seriously injured, even if the player just took a knock and it's just, hurting him a little second or something like that, it's going to take him a few seconds to get up. You just don't do that, do you? Do you know what I mean? You can go over and say, get him off the pitch. I've screamed that in Anfield myself a million times. He's right there, get him off. But you don't go over and grab him. And they done it. It was in the first half. Who was the player? It was Wirtz in the first half. Gabriel, yeah. He tried to pick him up there as well, didn't he? I was screaming there as well. Well, get your hands
The mad one about that is it's not a penalty and play carries on. So he's not wasting any time. So what are you doing? You're not achieving anything.
Yeah, let him lie on the floor.
It really doesn't matter. It shows that it's sort of it's trickled down from the manager. It's obviously something they discussed. I thought there would be some shithousery and them going down, not that. The biggest one for me, the biggest one for me is I've suffered from an ACL and I've suffered from a torn meniscus, and the knee really shouldn't be moved after that. The body sends loads of blood to that area so that you can limit movement. What you see when physios come on during those injuries, you saw it with Leone, you saw it with Fabian Schär 2 days ago at Newcastle, you saw it last night, is the first thing they do is they strap that leg and stop and don't move it. So for him to come over and push him, that we don't know if that's caused any more damage to the knee.
It definitely caused him more pain.
It caused him more pain. His only reaction was pain. What was mad was it didn't start with the push. It starts with him throwing the ball at his head, and then it's his knee subtly in Connor's back while he's turning around at the ref. So it's sort of three different actions. So you can say he's lost his temper, but I mean, there's three different actions there, which I don't think it's disgraceful. I think it's absolutely vile. I think Konate's reaction, I thought was sort of the visceral. That's not.
It's almost like incredulous. There's certain things that you just don't do.
He literally pushes him and points to his head, and he's like, "What are you? What are you doing? What are you thinking?" It just. I know that football's obviously a competitive sport. You've got to gain edges in certain ways, but you have to have sportsmanship. You have to understand that you can't just there's been no clash involved for that injury. He's literally done it by turning.
Exactly.
So there's no malice there. You're not angry that somebody's that there's a 50-50 on your player.
And he's taken long to get up a bit of time. It's not one of them.
It's just the behaviour. None of the behaviour makes sense. I just think it's indicative of an Arsenal side that's trickled down from the manager of this. This is how we get in their heads, and it just looks so badly on them.
I'm fuming again now.
Yeah, you know what? I am a bit. Yeah,
but it's like I think that Kev's points on the player reactions really telling, because I think there's certain things that for players like that crosses the line. Do you know what I mean? They all know that there's going to be little bits of play acting on the pitch and things like that. There'll be little things where you're trying to get the edge. There's the incident where the first half where Virgil's trying to get to the ref to say you should have stopped it. Declan Rice is over there and they're having a row, but you can tell you know,
respect.
it's a respect. You can tell it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like Declan Rice is like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Virgil's like, I'm just trying to get to, you know, and it's heated, but you know, like in 10 seconds they'll have forgotten all about it, and then probably after the game they'll be like, oh yeah, I understand it. He's looking after my team. I'm looking after that. All that is part of the game. You know, all that. You know. Tackles, you know, moments where you're appealing for a throw, and even though you know it's not yours, like this is all stuff that I think players we all accept, but also the players on the pitch just sort of know. I think sometimes there's certain things that go over the line, like spitting or something like that. If a player spits on someone, that your players are all like, no, that's you just don't do that. This was similar to me. It's similar to him just spitting on him on the ground. I think in terms of, you can see from the players going like that is just so far beyond what is acceptable. Like I almost like Kev says, I almost can't believe you've done it. And the fact that it's a yellow card just feels like something's gone wrong.
Yeah, and you know, you've mentioned Declan Rice and his sort of incident with Van Dijk. Within that, you see Declan Rice immediately when he sees Bradley go down. He's the one who stood closest to him until Martinelli comes over and fucking, you know, gets involved in the way he does. And Declan Rice signals to the bench being like, get the stretcher on. So immediately he's understood the situation that's going on around him, and that's the thing that's like the most sort of like that makes me incredulous, and is like I just feel blood coursing through my veins again now because I've got so angry about it again. That like it's a complete lack of self-awareness. And I've said in the past that I want Liverpool players to be, you know, a bit closer to the line, to you know, be do it in a way that's cute, of course, not be too nice. I think Liverpool players are too nice. I think a couple of them showed it again, even just in that incident last night. Like I was crying out for a Curtis Jones to do what he did to Decore at Goodison. Like yeah,
you know, which
like,
Curtis was on the pitch.
Where it's like these are my people, and you don't do that to my people and get away with it. And we were talking on the weekend the other day, me, you and Neil, about like I think obviously I'm going a bit meta with this, but bear with me. Like football's got a really bad reputation that's been built up over so many years that it's like it's not a gentleman's game, and that, you know, things like what happened last night happen on the pitch. But what I think is in the way that football's tried to clean up its image is it's become like so sanitized, where like our manager will come out, and I'm not actually seeing the quote, but you said he was overly fair to him. Arteta comes out and is like, you know, it's not in Gabby's personality. It clearly fucking is. Yeah. He did it. It's clearly in his personality, and actually Martinelli is one of those players who you'd say has always been, you know, very close to the line in terms of that. He's a bad diver. Is all those little tricks to try and get you away in a game, and loads of it is stuff that's cute and is as you say, you know, before the line. That last night went way over the line. A complete lack of self-awareness, and I think he's lucky, to be honest, because, you know, I don't necessarily want football to go back to, you know, even before my time really, but you know, the days of Roy Keane ending people's careers and stuff like that. Of course, I don't want it to get back to that, but if I'm one of those players on that pitch last night, I'm wanting Martinelli's head.
But you want footballers to be protected, so
exactly.
I'm with you. I don't want to go back to the days where, like, you know, players are injured, or like you want, I think, moves that football's made to protect quality players and protect skilled players is right. But he's done the opposite. Yeah. He's there's an injury, and like Kev said, like he's in danger. He's risking making it worse, and so that's as bad to me as like a deliberate leg break on a player. It's just. It's a frustration, and we're winding ourselves up. That's the thing. It's not a football action, is it? So like, so in that moment, you know, Kevin, Keogh were kind of trying to say it before, of like, if Martinelli was involved in that tackle with Bradley, and he went, listen, lad, I didn't touch you. Come on, like you can kind of understand him having to go because there's a football action involved. You've seen a lad try and clear a ball there, and his knee's gone from underneath him. No one anywhere near him. Do you really think in that moment that he's going to fake that? And also, like, take the context into it if you want. Conor Bradley's a really honest lad who's never going to be, you know, doing any of that kind of thing, because he'll know that the fans will be, as in us, will be as worried as any of his teammates or the referee are on the pitch. So it is an absolute disgrace. And I'm not one of those people who like wants to see players coming out and apologising after all, or like even really wants like fines and bans on the whole, because I'm just like, I'll just think you're a bellend, and I'm quite happy to just think you're a bellend forever, really. But like, this is one of those where I'm like, he needs to be shown that you can't endanger your fellow opponents like that, you can't disrespect your fellow opponents like that. And like you say, I hope there is some poetic justice that comes to him next time he comes to Anfield. I'm gutted, you know, unless we get in the Champions League, and now I really fucking hope we do. But then John O'Darby. Yeah, exactly. I'm gutted that it wouldn't come till next season, because I want someone
someone like Curtis Jones to have that chance to be like, I'm going to fucking do you.
Another wider part of the context of that game was we were in the ascendancy. We were the ones who had all of the ball, all of the chances, all of the domination.
Yeah.
Do you really think the lad's trying to time waste?
Yeah.
Like, we were trying to win the game, lad. It wasn't this like, all backs to the wall, shitting ourselves for 90 minutes, time wasting. There was no context of time wasting throughout the whole game. So for his mind to just be instantly, you're time wasting is a bit bonkers.
Also, when Frimpong went down injured, the referee let the game play on.
Yeah.
And they were screaming for the game to stop. It wasn't as if like there'd been a game of time wasting. There was none of that at all. I just think he's banned fuming again.
But that's the thing, is it's a really good point because
Need a bother him.
because people try. Bit of pepper, lad. People try to protect him, say like, oh, he's just trying to win. He's just trying to win. I'm like, he's didn't have a fucking shot between the 45th minute until
They
stoppage
still
time.
hadn't had a shot by that point because it was the 91st minute that they get their first shot in the second
So I'm
half.
like, if you're desperate to win, fucking try pressing a bit, do you know what I mean? Or try like, they completely sat off second half. So don't be fucking cowards throughout the game. Don't shit yourselves on the pitch. And then be like throwing injured players around those stoppage time going, oh, it's this winning mentality. Like, show the winning mentality by trying to win the fucking game, not by being a dickhead.
Do you think that was part of the game plan to try and nick it late though in the second half? Should we reacted to the corner at the end? Do you think that's
The
part?
Gabriel thing.
Yeah, do you think that's part of the reason why they've overreacted so much to the corner thing, because they knew that last couple of minutes of stoppage that was where they're going to throw things.
It was a set piece, wasn't it? They had a throw in. Of course, their whole context was we want set pieces because we can cause them issues. It's almost as if they'd over-egged this massive, they're vulnerable at set pieces and we're boss at them. It seemed that was their only way out. I mean, the second half, they just didn't have a sniff. There was no chances until the 91st minute. They had one big chance in the entire game, and I can't figure out what it is, but this is an up-to-define big chance. I think it was possibly the Gabriel
It must be.
shot at the end from the corner. So obviously, his mentality is, it's a throw-in. We can do something, not like there's a lad who's just done his knee there. Like, it's just vile. It's just absolutely vile.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if the FA do anything. Probably not. But to be honest with you, but it is going to be fun next time he goes to Anfield. Hey, one of the sort of slight moan from me is I don't want to criticise the manager because I think he is a brilliant game. It's set up, everything that he planned went really well. Whatever they do at half-time, whatever they say at half-time is great and works well, because it reminded me of last year where sometimes you see a bit of a nothing first half and then they'd make some tweaks, show them some videos and second. So whatever happened for the second half, they were much, much better in terms of, getting on the ball. I thought they were fine in the first half, really, but much better in terms of, getting on the ball and threat. So he's had a good day, the manager, but it was just something he said after the game, and you can't look too much into, things managers say to journalists, because most of the time they can't be bothered. But he made a point of saying, well, people are praising me, but I thought it was just the same as Leeds and Fulham. Do you see that, Kev? I'll go to you there. And I thought it was just the same as Leeds and Fulham, and everyone was saying that was crap. So I think I can sort of see what he's saying, in that he's thinking about maybe chance creation. So he's thinking, well, there were 3 games where we had a lot of the ball, didn't create much and didn't win. So I guess he's saying that. But also, part of my worry about Arne Slot is that I don't want to do that he doesn't get us thing, but I think, like, I want Arne Slot, and I want Arne Slot to understand, and I hope he understands. And if not, I hope he watches the game back and then understands why we're all a lot happier with that performance than we are the one against Leeds and Fulham. And it's not just because Arsenal are better. It's not just it's the whole manner of how we played, the bravery on the ball, the commitment to each other, all the stuff that the players have been saying about having the fellas back next year. I thought anytime there was a mistake in that second half, you think, oh shit, here we go, someone will go and win it back. That's winning for. That's what the players have been talking about. That's what McAllister has been talking about. Szoboszlai and the thing was, well, we've all got our own ideas. I think it's stuff like that. So I don't think it is the same performance. If he thinks it's the same performance, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, but I mean, you've just said it. I think he's learned that when he's in a press conference, you don't need to be 100% honest. I think he was being glib. I think what he was saying was, after the Leeds game and after the Wolves game and after the what was the other draw? Jesus,
Fulham.
After the Fulham game, he was a little bit more honest, and he was saying that he was happy with the performance but not the result. And I think he was just being a little bit glib in saying, yeah, look, that was another good performance, but because it's Arsenal and because they're top of the league, the fans are going to be over the moon with that performance. I just think he was just being a little bit tongue-in-cheek and a little bit cheeky there. I don't honestly think that he was like, that performance is no better than... I think he knows that performance was loads better, but he's just shifting his cards in the deck a little bit. And I think he does get us. I think it's just, he's extremely Dutch. He's really, really Dutch. Do you know what I mean? Like,
he's very Max Verstappen.
Yeah, he's so Max Verstappen. It's a real cultural thing. Like,
yeah, Michael Van Gerwen.
Yeah, not overly showy, not overly flashy. Like, either dead honest, dead cheeky, and we don't get it because it's a cultural thing. Or
oh yeah, we're mad. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I think
I'm the problem. It's me. To put Taylor Swift.
I think he came out and said some decent things after the game, and that he was talking about, look, that like, I'm the first one that wants us to be scoring goals, and I know that we're the ones that are struggling against low block teams, and like a lot. I think there's some fractions in the fan base that think he's a fucking idiot, and he's just not.
No, he has a really good game.
He has a really good game. He's an extremely talented and clever manager. You know, if you take this sort of, I mean, it's a 10 game unbeaten run. But if you take some of the performances and results out, you have to say that he's a very, very talented man, a good manager, Premier League winning manager, got us to a final last season, could possibly do it again this season. There's still scope for that. And I think that in press conferences, he's just learned, I'm going to hold my cards close to my chest. I'm going to bat away certain questions. And I think he was just having a little bit of fun with the discourse around performances and results of late.
Okay. Well, thanks, Kev.
You just definitely should have called Martinelli a bellend.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it was.
That's what I'm most fuming with. I don't even know what you said, John.
So we're on Leeds for you,
Honestly.
Okay, we'll leave it there for part 2. Semenyo's gone to Man City, it seems. We're going to do a gutset tomorrow. What day is it? I haven't recovered from Christmas on what day is it. It's Friday, yeah. So tomorrow afternoon over Zoom, so we're doing a gutter show. So there'll be loads of transfer stuff in there. So I don't really want to touch it over here. But Martinelli's gone to Man City. He's chosen number 42.
Semenyo. You said Martinelli.
Oh, he's in me. Yeah. Martinelli's gone to the naughty step.
I wish I'd gone City because then he'd play at Anfield against us.
Semenyo has gone to Man City. He's wearing number 42 because that's what he wore at Bristol City. So there we go. I'm actually play for Bristol City. Can't be that good. More of that on the gutset tomorrow. But in part 3, we're going to talk about Barnsley. Okay, Barnsley. Keo, Monday night under the lights. The team selection is going to be interesting. The manager did his press conference after the game. It's been embargoed till Sunday. I've not watched it, but we're not going to get any more clues nearer the time on availability or anything like that. We won't hear from the manager now and before Monday night, and so I don't know if there's anyone who's available to him more. Joe Gomez has been on the bench a couple of times, so you assume he's available to come in. There was a bit of a rumours around Jones being injured. It was notable to me he doesn't come off the bench, and so whether he was just there to just be on the bench because we
stare them out.
Yeah. No, it might be one of those where like there was obviously, I mean, this manager's got a bit of reluctance to put young players on the bench, so maybe he's just thought, Curtis, you're there just so the bench looks a bit better. There's no way you're getting on. So whether he's available to Monday, there's not loads of opportunities for him to change it and be strong, but I don't know. So I noticed Phil Blundell having a bit of a chat with, I think with John Pearman about the team selection, and Phil made the argument that he doesn't like last year when we were still going in the Carabao Cup, so we've got that mad 2-leg tie that they do in January to consider, and this time we haven't, and so I think, I'll be honest, I've just been assuming that it'll be 11 changes and he'll just put some lads out, and if they get beaten, not be bothered. But it's Thursday to Monday, which isn't ideal, but is a little bit of a break, and then we don't play again until the weekend after that. Phil's arguing that he doesn't have to change as much as what maybe you'd think. I guess has some weight to it.
It has, given how the season's gone so far as well. Last season in the FA Cup, you could see that he was not that bothered about it, given the fact that we're in a title race. European Cups there, all this sort of stuff. Whereas now the target has changed a little bit, and me personally, I want to go and win the FA Cup now. So, yeah, there'll be a game that he wants to win, different to last season and different to the way that the Carabao Cup went this season. But he's got an injury list that's growing and growing and growing. So there will be a lot of changes, but I don't think it'll be as dramatic as we expect. I think we'll see Rio.
Yeah.
We'll see Chiesa. We'll see Joe Gomez.
Andy Robertson.
Trainee only.
Possibly Ramsey.
Possibly
I thought Ramsey.
Ramsey was on the bench last night.
Yeah, he's been on the bench a couple of times now, and I think with the Frimpong Bradley thing now, he's
got to protect Frimpong.
Basically, yeah.
Mamardashvili in goal.
Yeah, Mamardashvili in goal. I wonder if it's like a rhythm thing, and he needs to keep some players in rhythm. So, for example, Szoboszlai misses the Leeds, the Wolves game. What game does Szoboszlai miss? Wolves, because he was suspended. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of Szoboszlai. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of McAllister, a bit of Gravenberch, and maybe Gravenberch shares that role with Newone. Or I don't think it'll be like an 11 changes sort of vibe. I think the big thing is the fact that we're at home. I think it was Plymouth away last year, and I think he was like, this pitch is shit, the ground's shit, the fans are shit. I think this time he'll want a much stronger team out there to sort of impress us for one, and carry on
the run going.
Carry on the rhythm in the run. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's sort of protecting where we have injuries, which is obviously the front three, and then
centre back,
and then the right back. Say again.
Lucky,
I think Welity Lucky.
Yeah, he's been on the bench recently. I sort of think he'll almost do it within the parameters of the squad as he sees it now. So you're not going to see like mad kids getting plucked from the academy. Like I think the Kieran Morrison thing was the probably one change too many that we all thought in that Palace game when he probably should have just played Salah for example in that game because Salah was out of form at the time and Liverpool get snotted and it almost becomes then that you focus on a lad like Kieran Morrison. I think the manager won't make that same mistake if you want to call it that this time. I think he will pick within the parameters of the squad that he's got. I wouldn't be surprised to see Welity Lucky because he's made a lot of benches recently. Calvin Ramsey as well, and them two and Nayoni and Rio are probably the four kids that you will see in the team, and the rest will be adults in some guys. Whether it's lads who are playing week in week out, lads who are coming back from injury and maybe need the fitness and minutes in their legs. I think he'll want to have this like wrapped up so that he can wrap lads up in cotton wool after that.
Yeah, Kev makes a good point before Kia on analysing them also almost as individuals really and saying, well, would he benefit from a game or would he benefit from a rest? And also what else have we got in that position? And so, Frimpong always becomes nowhere near it because he's going to have a big rest of the season now. Does he, pick Joe Gomez? Well, I think he will pick Joe Gomez, but is he looking to pay him for 90 or does he think that's too far? And he might think, well, Welity Lucky can come on for him, and then can Virgil play a full game, alongside him? Virgil is a very durable player. We know he is. There's seasons where he's played a huge amount of games at his level as a drop. So you almost look at them as individuals really and sort of analyse it and trying to put together a team from there. But I agree with Josh. I don't think we'll see anyone who I don't think they feel like has got a chance of a long-term future at Liverpool. Someone just to fill a shirt for the sake of it, like in that game. I don't think there'll be anything like that.
No, and this is the very boring answer, but it's going to come down to what the sports scientists say. It'll come down to how many minutes. He's referenced a few times, hasn't he? He's only got 60 in him, he's only got 30 in him. He's obviously listening to the people who are in charge of how many minutes players can play, the red zones and green zones and all this kind of thing. So it'll be a decision based on that, based on where players are at after that game last night, a tough away game at the Emirates. We have got 30 to Monday, so there'll be a recovery day today. They'll probably train Saturday and see where people are at. But I completely agree with that. I don't think we'll be seeing kids pulled out the 21s or the 18s or anything like that. But there'll be a lot of changes within the squad that we've got. It's a game that you'll want to win, though, in my opinion. I'm saying that I want to get to an FA Cup final just to keep that mood going and to keep that, progression forward, because, as I say, we were in free fall in November, absolute free fall, and there was no talk of a trophy or an unbeaten run or anything like that. And it'll help our league form as well. So just keep it going. Pick a team. Look, any team you pick out of Liverpool's squad should be capable of beating Barnsley.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, hopefully, but that should have been the case for Plymouth as well, and it wasn't. And I think that game will be one that's on his mind a little bit, really. I don't think they were too bothered to lose against Plymouth, but I think he'll think, well, I need to pick a team that at least resembles a team, because if Barnsley go full strength, there'll be lads who are used to playing together, and they might not have the talent of Liverpool, and there might not be players who, Liverpool are scouting sort of or anything like that, but a good team always beats good individuals, and so we need to make sure that it is something that when you see it, you're like, well, at least that on paper resembles a Liverpool team. We'll see if it resembles a Liverpool team on the pitch.
Yeah, I think a good balance is important, isn't it? And that's why I think that the midfield will be slightly stronger than what we put out against Plymouth last year. I think the biggest issue with what he did against Plymouth, and particularly against Palace as well, was just a gang of lads that haven't played together. There's no synergy. Nobody really knows where anybody is, and then the crowd doesn't get into it, and we're not up for it anymore. We're a bit like, what's this? Even though there's certain players on the pitch that we might be excited about, like Rio. We've been calling out for Rio in certain games this season so far. But yeah, I think it'll be a good balance. I would like to see Rio get a good run out in this game, because I'm keen to see how his synergy and connection is with some of the first team players, because in what we've seen, the flashes that we've seen, there does seem to be quite a lot of trust there. It seems that they're like, no, this kid's really decent. We see him in training every day, and we've seen flashes of it. So for him to play a side that's a couple of divisions down from us, I think is a good sort of litmus test for him to get thrown in and see what he can do in an attacking sense, because realistically he could be a real threat if he's up there with Chiesa and who else would they put out there? Yeah, they've not really got a right winger with Salah gone, with Frimpong not playing it.
Might go to two.
Could be Soboslai's thrown in there, and taken off, and then there's a change of formation later on.
I wonder if they keep Gakpo.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Gakpo's had a bit of a break as well,
yeah.
so they might think, well, he could do it in the minutes.
I think it'd be Rio on the right now. You said that.
Be interesting.
We should say the other thing about Keogh there talks about winning an FA Cup run, and I always think as well, it's a bit of a shame if you go up the Cups early, because it's a way of getting people in the ground who can't often. And the crap thing about this one is it's a Monday night, but there still will be, younger people in the ground. There's going to be some Thai kids in school Tuesday morning because they've stayed up late to watch a Rio and Gamoa masterclass, who's probably only 10 years older than them, which is sort of mad. But
he's in match with them in the morning.
But so this one's a bit of a shame, and it's a Monday, but it is a different crowd for the cup games. There are opportunities for people. There'll be people who've been absolutely made up to get on the Autumn Cup scheme. For example, the FA Cup, we might not go to a league game all season, or might not be able to get a chance to get a ticket, but this is their run. And I always think for them, if you go out early, then it's a real missed opportunity. So I hope they go through. I hope we get a nice home tie in the fourth round as well, and they put that on a Saturday at 3 o'clock or wherever, Sunday at 2, where loads of kids can get in and watch this Liverpool team, because for me that's become a little bit of a joy of the FA Cup, really having a different crowd, having people maybe going to the first game or one of the first games and stuff like that, and people who don't normally get to go being in the stadium.
I think the FA Cup's just different, isn't it? Like, we all love the League Cup we have over the past few years. It's become more of a love affair for Liverpool. We're obviously the team who's won it the most, but it as Keogh mentioned before, that sort of mad two-leg semi in January, even the final last year, having just lost to PSG, almost did feel like a step too far for the team mentally at the time, and I think things sort of fall away a little bit from there, albeit we still win the league, so like, why would we care about anything else really? But it's noticeable to me that the manager has never referenced that Crystal Palace game again after it happened, and he still to this day, or at least up until recently, references that Plymouth game from last season, and it feels like that is one that he was really disappointed with, because he felt like he put out a team that should have been good enough to beat Plymouth, and I think there was probably some things that surprised him that Kev alluded to before, but the FA Cup is always an opportunity to use the squad. It comes with a bigger reputation. We can all remember being kids and watching the FA Cup sort of growing up on the telly on BBC, can't we? And some of us probably lucky enough to be able to get in the ground. The tickets are, my ticket for this one in the Auto Cup is in the Cop. It's half the price of the usual, league game or Champions League game for me. So I'm going to go. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy whichever team that puts out there and enjoy that different kind of atmosphere, like you say, because accessibility issues are obviously on the agenda at Anfield at the moment in terms of queues to get in the ground, but there's some people who aren't even lucky enough to be able to have the chance to queue it. Exactly.
Here's a queue.
Yeah, that's it's kind of the thing that we, I guess, will take for granted, and the queues are fucking winding me up no end. But there'll be some kids who will be very excited in that queue on Monday and you know, get into the ground and watch that team play, and that to me is, like you say, what it's all about.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the queue.
Well, on the queue, segue, Paul Cutler, who's a Chief Operating Officer at Liverpool Football Club, he's in charge of the queues and other things at Liverpool. He came in to speak to us yesterday, What Are Days, and that is out now. So if you want to listen to that, if you're like Josh Sexton, someone who is frustrated with Kieran, or someone who's going the game on Monday and wants to know what to expect if you've not been before, do listen to Paul. He was interesting when he come in. But I think that is everything. Anything else I want to talk about? If you want to come and watch the Anfield Wrap live, you can do so. theanfieldwrap.com/TAW live. That's the correct link, isn't it? We're going over to Ireland and we're going over to Australia February and March for those.
And New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah. Well, there's a Belfast thing as well that you know, you can go either way on it, depending on how you're looking at it. So yeah, but we're international. Like
global,
like Josh's laptop. International. We'll leave it there. Anything else?
Just that Gyökeres is pure shit.
He is bad,
honestly.
8 touches in the whole game. Like, just what is that?
But a lump.
There is that cliche of, I didn't even know who's playing, and like you'd always think you didn't know who's playing, but didn't even know who's playing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awful.
It was like having one of us up front.
It was
well. What's funny is, you know, Chiesa has not been particularly setting the world alight, and I get all the frustration. But I'd rather, sorry, not Chiesa, Gakpo. I'd rather Gakpo over a Gyökeres. He just looks absolutely.
At least he gets involved in the game of football.
Yeah.
It was pissing it down, and lucky came off the pitch dry. Like that was how little he worked.
Yeah, she had an umbrella.
It wasn't even a beat of fucking rain.
Maybe he was hiding. Maybe that's why we didn't notice him. He sat in the stands going, look at them
Like
dickheads.
his big coat over his head. Like that.
That's a bad sign, isn't it?
Get on them, pricks. Yeah. Up the Reds.